Hey, what are you there? Bala, just checking on you before people will start coming in. Okay, you can hear me. That's good. And I'm very clear. I'm audible enough. All right then. Bala, how can I send some music to you? Hello, Rian. How are you, Rian? Can you hear me?
Hi, everyone.
Okay. How are you?
Very good. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear, Rian.
All
I can hear
right.
you.
Sounds good.
You're sounding
How's it?
good.
How, how are the sessions going?
Okay. Well, we're not nothing yet. We're not getting anything yet. Let's see how it goes. So hopefully I
Okay,
can hear you.
that sounds good.
So after the presentation, the questions we start rolling in.
I have my thing and my reference guide here in case I need it.
Ah, okay. I like that. Actually, I was going to refer to that somewhere along the line. You can see. I was going to refer to it somehow. That's a good one. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
So, don't worry. When you hear me talk about it, then you can go ahead and do, and do what you have to
Okay.
do with it. Thank you. Thank you.
Of
Actually,
course.
it's just the ebook that is on Amazon Kindle. So for whoever, the link will be dropped as you're
Okay.
talking, and then yeah, whoever is interested can go there, go pick a copy.
That sounds good.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
such an, I probably read it twice now. It's such an easy read. I was telling my wife that when I read this book, it's like having a conversation with you. It's almost like you wrote it the way you talk, like not a lot of people write the way that they converse. Mostly they just write
Thank
like
you.
in a linear way.
Mm, mm.
So it sounds very like you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I hope that the next one will be due very soon. I guess
That's
my
right.
wife, my wife keeps encouraging me that the next one is due now. So I'm
Yeah, you're
trusting. I'm
ready.
trusting. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
trusting God. Get there. So nice to have you. Thank you for,
Well, do I sound
logging in
good?
and time. Yeah, yeah.
Of course.
You're sounding clear, very clear. That's good.
All right. Bola, should I go ahead and try the slides one more time now that we have multiple people in the room?
Okay.
Is that
Yeah,
good?
people are not. Okay, we can do that because we are the only one here for now. Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, let me stop sharing the whiteboard. Yeah, let it go. Unnecessarily. Okay, hold on a moment. Yes.
While you
Yes.
do that, I'm going to grab my phone charger. Excuse me for a second.
All right. Mm, okay. Once you're ready,
All
go ahead.
right. Yeah. So I made sure, Bola, that the dog is outside so you don't see
Yes.
him come up.
Yeah, it
Yes.
does.
I just want to know that people are joining us already.
All right. And I need to switch here.
No,
Bola, you see full screen?
no. Double screen now.
You see double screen?
Yeah.
Whoops. Hold on 1 second here. I think I confused it. How about now?
Yeah, this is it.
Good? Okay. And I'm just gonna
Yeah.
it's going?
Good.
Good? Okay. Sounds good.
Good. Yeah.
I'll stop sharing for now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm pulling up my slide again.
So, Sigurd Bull, I have about 42 slides, and many of them go through pretty quickly, some quotes, and then some have the actual takeaways. So timing-wise, I think we'll have plenty of time for any Q&A if it comes up.
That'll be very great.
That's beautiful. That would be beautiful.
Okay.
Hopefully, let's have the. I think the question is is in the question. We just have the question and answer session. That would be great. The Q&A session.
Yeah. So my Sigurd, for the questions, are we going to have people unmute themselves, or do we put the question in the chat?
Let's do the chat room. We'll look out
Okay.
for it. You may not be able, but myself and Bola will try to catch up with the chat room. So
Okay.
maybe, yeah, so that it could be quick, because the issue of unmuting could become a little bit rowdy. We're looking at that.
Sure.
Yeah, so let's see. Except if somebody is insisting on talking, then we trust that that person will be disciplined enough to unmute himself and then mute himself back.
That sounds good to me.
All right. Okay. Okay then. We have some few minutes. Yeah, just about 2 or 3 minutes more. Then we'll be just fire on.
Now, Sigurd, remind me, you've been doing the sessions for 2 weeks now, is that right?
Yeah, I know, about 4 days. 4 days. We rounded up today.
4 days.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's a kind of live work entrepreneurship training. Basically, entrepreneurship for a group of people. Actually, their basic field is marketing, sales and marketing. But the employers, thought it wise that they should be given that, what they call it, that empowerment to be able to do something for themselves and on their own. So
I see.
normally, in the days of brick and mortar, is a program we could run for just 2 days, 8 hours. Yeah, we could have done that successfully, but going online, we had to find a way to put it in there for about 12 hours, 10 hours, and it was over
Yeah.
4 days. Mhm. And it was quite
I think,
interesting. Quite interesting,
yeah, I think we're all, I'll kind of talk a little bit about this. We're making a lot of shifts and pivots to figuring out the most impactful way to deliver, engaging learning, especially for
Mhm.
leadership and management development, which we're talking about today. And,
Mhm.
we're all learning as we go, right?
Mhm. I agree with you entirely. It's a new field that we must embrace and embrace it very seriously because it's the way to go. I'm not sure if any organization is ready to bring people together in a closed venue in the nearest future. I don't know.
Yeah, there's just certain, I think, instruction that can't really be as impactful online. So, I think that's what we have to figure out is how we can deliver that in maybe a hybrid model. So, if as you figure it out, my friend, you let me know, and we'll figure it out together.
Yeah, we keep thinking about something, and I'll just send it to
Yeah.
you, and you are probably, you'll probably have the better facility to get things done as quickly as possible. It's already 3 o'clock. It's already 2 o'clock. Bola, do you want to give us a feedback about? We have about 15 participants already logging on. Believe me, I don't think we should keep them waiting. Okay, about 15 of us, and I'm sure 10 out of that are people who are logging in on time. And I don't believe that those who came early should wait for the latecomers. I don't believe in it. So we can actually start this program.
I agree, sir. You can go ahead, sir.
Okay. Okay. In a moment, I'll just. Okay. Okay. Good afternoon. Good day. I need to put on my camera now. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So many things. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and I don't know whichever part of the world you are connecting with us. It is 10 a.m. EST and 3 p.m. West African time. So we want to welcome all of us to this. We want to say thank you for joining us for this beautiful time. I just want to say quickly that the chat room is available to let us feel you, to let us hear you. I want to believe you are hearing me loud and clear. In our testing, we've been able to hear. I want you to know that the guest speaker for this afternoon is already in the room, and of course the back room teammates are also here with us. So I just need, yes, yeah, Leon, thank you for the hello. I just need that kind of feedback and to see if the network is this program. I will introduce. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we want to try and see. I'm having a feedback that our network is okay. I can see from Foolish and Bore that we may want to try and check once again before we move on our network. Okay, okay. I want to believe it's working well. Okay. Loud and clear. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Let's move on. Let's move on. Okay, thank you very much. Quickly, before I introduce the guest speaker, ladies and gentlemen, it is to share with you us today. Our name is Shemdi. I work as the head of practice. But before we go on, once again, we say thank you. I want you to know that safety first, ladies and gentlemen. We trust everyone is keeping safe. And the protocols are very simple. Anywhere you may be in the world, the protocols are very simple. Let's wash our hands with soap and water. Let's use our face mask and let's keep our distance as much as possible. A couple of things that we need to know before we bring in our please, as much as possible, let's make use of the chat room. Let's make use of the chat room. Hearing me loud and clear from New York City. Thank you very much. That's Bishop Deumialabi. Thank you very much, sir. So we want to encourage you as much as possible. Let's use the chat room. Just let's feel you. And then also we want to also appeal that it is possible you can mute your video and then go ahead and mute your mic. But very importantly, mute your mic. If you are sure of your bandwidth, if you are sure of your network, go ahead and put on your video. We would love to see your face anywhere you are connecting from the world. And of course, by the reason of this session, then we basically consult book. Some people may want to call it a workbook, but a course book that we're going to send the link to you right away before the program goes, so that you also have something you can just download it and you follow in whichever way you want to. You can turn it into your writing pad, or you may just want to follow us. And of course, Ryan will take a few questions and comments at the end of his presentation. At the end of this presentation, this is who we are. We are Bezali Consulting, and these are the things we do: learning and performance. That's what we call it in Bezali Consulting, learning and performance, because we're believing that once a learning has taken place, you must perform. You must perform. We follow up to assist, each and everyone that passes through our training to perform. We are into human capital house. We're into leadership and strategy. We also do resourcing, recruitment in Bezali Consulting, and entrepreneurship and life after work is an area we've come to on our expertise. We just finished a 4-day program of entrepreneurship and life after work for one of our clients in this environment. I mean, one of the largest in the whole wide world, and of course, best HR practices. These are things we do in Bezali Consulting. You see, we've been around for time, since 1994. Anywhere we go, we celebrate. Anywhere I have had the opportunity of speaking, locally and abroad, we celebrate the clients we have worked for in the past 25 years. These are, and we are still working for a lot of these clients. We just want to celebrate them everywhere we go. And also at this point, also we celebrate them, and we just want to say thank you for being our partners, putting us on our feet and adding value. We add value to each other. It's a mutual thing. So we'll move on quickly. And these are our upcoming webinars, the kind of webinars we want to do. You can see the dates there. They're all in your course book. You can look at it and you get back to us, you get in touch with us. Ladies and gentlemen, because I just have 10 minutes to do this, this is the point I would love to introduce Ryan. Today, Ryan will be talking to us on developing management effectiveness through accountability, trust, and connection. It's my pleasure to introduce a man I described in my book as friend at first sight. Myself and Ryan, we met at Yale because he is a program director for the ATD Yale Management Program. Ryan works for the Association for Talent Development, formerly American Society for Training and Development. I, particularly since 2004 or thereabouts, have been going for the ATD conference. But then I think I've come across Ryan until 2017 at Yale. Okay, before then, I had met him virtually, was trying to say, okay, Segun, this is how you go about coming to Yale, and then and so on and so forth. In my book, I wrote about him that the way himself and a lady called Gypsy Garcia handled that program, we just fell in love with one another, and since then we have been friends. And I want to say thank you to Ryan, despite your busy schedule, that you have decided to do this with us. So, ladies and gentlemen, without much ado, I will want to yield the floor to Ryan, who wants to take us in the next 40 minutes through developing management effectiveness through accountability, trust, and connection. Please, let's welcome Ryan. Round of applause. Thank you, Ryan. You're welcome. We appreciate you for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, my friend.
Thank you.
Okay. That's the best introduction I've ever gotten in my entire life. So I appreciate that. And, you know, we memorialized our meeting in the book as well. So Segun, I'll talk a little bit more about he and I met, but when you meet people who you know you're going to engage with for long periods of time within that first moment, it's a really special thing. So I'm truly honored by your friendship, Segun, truly. And to be with a global audience today is an awesome honor. So thank you for joining me. We'll go through a little bit about who I am, why I'm here, why I'm passionate about this, about the work that I do and how I essentially got here. So, Bull, I'm going to need some feedback from you. I'm going to share my screen. I just want to make sure that I'm doing the single screen instead of just the dual screen. So give me 1 second here.
All right, I'll be here.
All right. You're there, buddy. Cool. Let me know which screen you see.
It's fine now. It's fine now. It's just fine.
Great. Thank you. Okay. So as Segun mentioned, we're talking about developing management effectiveness through accountability and trust. This is 2017, about 3 years ago, actually, it might be this week, Segun. So our friend anniversary is this month. And we met with this first cohort of leaders from Fortune 500 companies from all over the world who joined us at the Yale School of Management to learn about becoming a more effective people manager and leader, essentially. And it was certainly one of the most memorable times of my professional career, not only learning from some of the top professors in the entire world, but also learning from new colleagues and friends who had similar mindsets, as well as just similar experiences to me of how to figure out how to really grow their direct reports as well as their organization. So it was a wonderful experience, and not only did I get to learn a ton during that week, but I got to meet and develop friendships with folks like Segun here. So thanks again for having me. We're doing this program again next year in person with the social distancing standards this year. We're not able to do it in person. It's a virtual program, but should you have any interest in it, feel free to reach out to me at some point. So a little bit about me. I'm the senior manager for our management development area at the Association for Talent Development. As I was mentioned earlier, we're the largest organization for training professionals, human resource, and talent management professionals. Our focus essentially is to help the world become a better place to work through training and development. I'm also the program director for our government workforce group. This is where we discuss and develop products and resources for our public sector employees here in North America. And then I am the program director for our Yale Management Excellence program, which is in collaboration with the Yale School of Management. It's essentially a week-long program where we develop experienced leaders with the Excel model, which you'll learn a little bit more about shortly. ATD, our vision, create a world that works better. And essentially, we work by pushing for cultures that help people develop others. And so many of you are familiar with Sagan's book, Growing People. That's what management is certainly all about. And we'll discuss a few tactical things about how to do that, some strategy, but also let's come up with some definitions that work on what this thing entirely is. It's a really interesting time to be a people manager or leader these days. Most of us are working from the comforts of our home, living room, in offices that are a little bit more empty. We're more distant from our teams than ever. And we're relying on things like WebEx and Zoom and technology to be productive and to manage. And unfortunately, spoiler alert here is technology does not supplement bad management or leadership. So over these next couple of months, as we're figuring this out as a globe, we need to be more diligent about being more effective and intentional as leaders and managers. And so this, programs like this, as well as programs that are being offered everywhere, are a great reminder for us to figure out what that kind of looks like. So beyond what you saw, program director, senior manager, content, I'm essentially a management and leadership enthusiast because of just my personal interests as well as my work. So I present, as I present today, I'm a researcher, I'm a writer, I'm an editor. You'll learn a little bit more about the book that I helped co-edit later on. And then, I'm essentially a management enthusiast. But first and foremost, I'm a people manager. At ATD, I have a staff of 2, and they're absolutely wonderful. And I think one of the reasons that it works out is because we have a culture where they can upward manage me and tell me when I'm not doing the most effective thing as a manager or a leader, and being able to build that culture where people give you the feedback to say, hey, Ryan, you need to push me a little bit more. You're pushing me too much, or this isn't achievable. Like, that kind of dialogue is super important, and being able to figure out the ability to create that culture of trust and transparency is what we'll talk a little bit about today. So not only am I a consultant, a presenter, but this means a lot to me because just like many of you, leaders and managers, I'm a manager, I'm a practicing manager. There are certainly a lot of good days and there are a lot of bad days, and there are days where I'm like, I don't know how to answer this question, or I don't know how to lead this team out of this. And you know what? That happens to all of us. And that's a little bit of the beauty of being a manager here is you never know where this is going to take you. But being able to create that culture where you're getting the feedback from your direct reports to do this better, and hopefully you have even more good days than you have bad days, is the goal of this entire thing. But I did something here. I just want to make sure. Are you still seeing the full screen?
Yes, the student, yeah.
Yes, we're still in your screen.
Full screen is intact.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So I want to start off a little bit with a sentiment around my enthusiasm for management and leadership. And I was looking for quotes and, hundreds of books that I have in my, office about management and leadership, and books by Ken Blanchard, and, books by some of the other thought leadership folks out there, Adam Grant and Simon Sinek and Marshall Goldsmith. And I came across a book that you're all familiar with, and I read this quote the other day, and I was like, this is it. So I'm going to read it. Growing people is one subject I can never talk or write too much about, or teach too much, or discuss too much. It drives all other levels of human endeavors, aspirations, and progress. Leaders are responsible for growing people because they are, first, managers of people. Everything else rises and falls with leadership. Also, I unrepentantly affirm that leading a legacy is one of the ultimate goals of leadership. And so maybe one of us in this audience in particular is familiar with this quote because he wrote it. So this is from Sagan's book. And when I referenced it the other day in preparation for this, I thought, this is why you and I are friends. This is why we're all here, because we have a little bit of a passion for this, whether it's just a part of our job or we want to just get better at this as people or professionals. This is what leadership and management is all about. At the end of the day, it's about growing people. And if you're leaning towards away from that, I think you're going to have a harder time of like grasping what it truly means to be an effective manager. So it's a great quote. I just wanted to share. Great picture of our friend here. So management, as I discussed, and I won't dive too much into this, but it's a rewarding job, but it's also one of the hardest jobs you're ever going to have. It's going to have its ups and its downs. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to be exhausted. You're going to be frustrated with your direct reports of yourself. But once we figure that out, as I quote my friend Kate Fitzgerald here, it's going to be the hardest job you're ever going to love. Okay, so one of the things that often comes up, and I don't know if this is the same for all of you, but certainly in a lot of my conversations all over in doing this kind of work is, you know, the terms of management and leadership are used interchangeably. Sometimes people are like, I need to be a better leader. I need to be a better manager. I need to be a better, I need to do better at management leadership. And so I just want to clarify my intent for what this exactly looks like and why I think that there is a specific distinction between management and leadership. So in 2019, we published a book called The 10 Steps to be a Successful Manager by leadership guru Lisa Hannenberg. And in an effort to really define what the difference looks like, we came up kind of with this. Management is a set of methods and practices, a regiment that enables us to run a business or a piece of the business. It's a job. Leadership is not a job. It's the way we do the job. Now, are there certain alignments and parallels and overlaps with the way we describe how to be a manager and how to be a leader? Absolutely. And I think that's where the confusion gets a little bit muddy at times. And so when you get hired into a job and they say you have direct reports, immediately you go into that job of being a manager. You're responsible for doing things and setting certain criteria and guidelines for making sure these people achieve their goals. Leadership, on the other hand, is the way that you portray yourself, you model, and you behave in order to influence these folks or help them see what it means to do this the right way. At least that's my definition. I know there are many others out there. But for the purpose of this presentation, you know, let's kind of go with this. And as we go through it, if you have other definitions, please feel free to share as well. I'd be interested to know. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about management. So we defined it, you know, we kind of talked a little bit about the difference between management and leadership. So management, for our purposes here, is kind of the engine that drives our corporations. It is daily completion of strategic work and ensuring that people within a certain level or tiered group of folks in a production manner, in some sort of production manner, are able to do the job with the manager kind of being at the top and being responsible for the growth of that organization. Within this definition, I'm making this sound way too easy, and it is not. All right, so there are a few things that people often run into when they become a manager. And so there's three things I just want to cover here real quickly before we jump in, and I ask you all to kind of do a little bit of self-reflection about why we're here today. But the first is, you know, they become a circumstance of, they become a victim of the circumstance. They become a victim of kind of the culture of here's how we've always done it. It's a command and control environment, and I'm going to stick with the status quo and do something that inherently might not have worked. The thing with management is, as we all know, management requires for you to reflect, realign, and then move forward in order to have more bad days than worse. So being stuck is one of the toughest absolute situations you can be in as a manager. The second is they confuse the need, managers often confuse the need to manage with the need to control. And here's a little bit of kind of background for this. Many of us became managers or leaders because we were really good at our individual jobs. Some of us were engineers, some of us were accountants, some of us were nurses, some of us were doctors, while some of us, rose through the ranks from frontline employees to now a manager role, right? So all those years of being really good at our job, now we're managing people. So you're talking about a scenario where you were the master of your domain, you were at the top of the hill with what you were doing, and now you're relying and delegating the work to your direct reports. Spoiler alert, this is not something that you can do overnight. There's a saying that becoming a good manager from being an individual contributor, it's mind shift change. It's being able to let go and delegate and train and trust. And that's what kind of being an effective manager is all about. But sometimes there are these habits of control that you take with you because if you just did it, it'd be faster, you'd do it better, and it'd just get done. But then if you have 10 direct reports, are you going to do all their jobs? The answer is no. That's not how this works. So this concept of control from individual contributor to leader is something that I think many of us fall into, and it's completely normal. Okay, so the last thing, and I mentioned a little bit about this earlier, is I think oftentimes we get so into the cycle of our day-to-day that we fail to take a step back, to reflect, and then to tune up, and then realign what we're doing correctly and what we're not. And so, how many times have you heard the saying, I keep doing things even though they're wrong, but I do them because it's just how I do them, or it's what I'm comfortable with. It's no different from this, Again, we for many years were individual contributors and now are managers, and so we're trying to break some of these habits that are not going to work in management. So we'll talk a little bit about some of those habits later on today. And I think about Marshall Goldsmith's book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. Kind of a little bit of the same concept here. So that said, before we jump into talking about accountability and communication, I'm just going to ask you for 1 second. I'm stealing this from Professor Mark Brackett from the Yale School of Emotional Intelligence before he starts something. He says, all right, we're going to get into this. I need you to be in the right mindset. I'm going to ask each of you to kind of join me in just taking a quick second, just sitting up straight in our chairs, taking a deep breath, in and out, and just reflecting on what we're doing here today. During this next 30 minutes as I'm going through accountability and communication, what is our intention for learning this? Why? Why are we doing this? Is it for us to get better as people, as managers, as leaders, or just because you're interested in this? What do we want to take away from this conversation? Do we want to learn from others? Do you want to learn from me? Do you want to share something with me? Whatever that intention is, just hang on to it and kind of refer back to it as we're kind of drifting off, throughout this conversation. But it's often good to just think about, why are we here? Why are we doing this? Why are we learning about it? When you get back to work on Monday or Tuesday after the weekend, do you want to do something to change your behavior so that you're more effective to your direct reports? Is there something you want to pull from this that you want to apply immediately? Whatever it is, yours is different than mine. Mine is certainly to learn from all of you and to share what I've learned as a manager as well. And trust me, this isn't perfect. This is a culmination of the things I've learned from research, as well as the different subject matter experts I've worked with, as well as my own experience as a manager. I'm trying to have more good days than bad days, essentially. I'm trying to share and grow my direct reports. All right. You've reflected. You've got it. You know what you want to grab onto? All right, let's move on. I can't do a presentation without sharing some of the numbers. And they're still staggering. Not a surprise, I think. Many of you have seen the polls from Gallup or HBR or some of these other places. Managers are still the top reasons why people leave their organization. Often top 3. And I'd say in the last 5 to 6 years, it's been number one 3 out of those 5 to 6 years, which is crazy. According to Gallup, one of the numbers you don't see here, that organizations who lose people because of bad management cost those organizations millions of dollars. It's almost $1 billion industry in turnover, in recruitment, and lost productivity. It's staggering. So why not take the time to invest in developing those managers? So while I know the first bullet here focuses on unhappy work in America, you know, if you take a deeper dive into that number and take a look at that Conference Board report, the reason for that is because of bad management, actually. So managers account for at least 70% of the variance in employee engagement scores. Gallup does this update. If you go to gallup.com, they literally update these numbers every week, and you just see them go up and down on employee engagement, management engagement. It's a wonderful, wonderful tool. This is what Gallup does. And then Harvard Business Review, and this is one of the most staggering statistics. 58% of the people say that they trust strangers more than they trust their own boss. Oof, that one's a tough one. But, you know, hopefully we can figure out how to mitigate something like that. Okay. You look in the mirror, you see yourself. I asked you to reflect a little bit earlier. What are we going to talk about? And spoiler alert, we're not here to talk about you. We're here to talk about your team. We're here to talk a little bit about this Excel model that Shagan talked a little bit about his book that we done some research on at ATD, and I'll share a little bit about that. But the focus of this is to help you develop your people. All right, so 5 areas in Excel, and I think I can share with Bola and the team here where you guys can get access to this research report. But 5 key areas of Excel are accountability, communication, collaboration, engagement, and listening and assessing. And there is a study that we did with over 840 talent development professionals. I'd say it was 2016. And we asked them the question, what is most important to your organization in terms of developing managers? And these are the 5 key skills that came out. They said if my managers had these 5 key skills and that they focused on these skills, they'd be the most effective. And, you know, we asked the inverse version of the questions, like of your managers who are kind of at the lower end, what are the skills they're lacking? And no surprise, the same things came up. Like the things they were lacking are the things that they want. So that was just a way for us from a research method to verify that this was actually the case. Today we're going to cover 2 things. We're going to cover accountability and communication through transparency and trust. So, okay. I apologize for the very graphic nature of this image, but I'm trying to make a point here about what accountability looks like, and I'm going to ask people to actually put something in the chat if I can see it here. What does accountability mean to all of you? Just give me the first word, the first thought. Give me, you know, a definition. I'm just going to, you know, let's do this for 45 seconds. In a couple of words, describe what accountability means to you. You know, some say it's my manager holding a gun to my head because I need to get the job done. My manager, you know, ensuring that things are, all right, there we go. We've got someone saying being responsible. People say it's over communicating. People say it's a lot of different definitions, actually. But feel free to write in the chat anything that you think it might be. Being responsible for your actions. Thank you very much. Self-starting. Okay, absolutely. The interesting thing about this, when I do accountability means ensuring that the job gets done. I agree with every single one. And the interesting thing about this is when I do this exercise with folks, the definitions are always scattered, but they have kind of the same essence of taking responsibility, being open and transparent, ensuring that the job gets done. But what I also found that this term is so vague to some extent that there's many ways you can go about it. So the reason that I'm pointing this out, especially for management tactics, is that we think that there has to be a framework around what accountability means. It's such a strong word that we use on a day-to-day basis that we all define differently, that there needs to be a little bit more of a robust guideline around what this looks like. All right. So no surprise, accountability is on you. Looks like you're responsible for the outcome of the job. You're responsible for your direct reports. But if I met my new direct report today and it's day one of the job, and I said, I'm going to hold you accountable, I'm going to make sure you're responsible for the outcome of your job, I'm going to take responsibility for everything that we're doing together. It means that the job gets done. It means that we have to be self-starting. It means that we have to be responsible for our actions. Okay, great. Go start your job, and I'm going to manage you. There's not really a lot there to work off of, right? So the point of my next couple of slides is to give us a little bit of a framework around what accountability could be for you and for your direct reports, something that you can use hopefully on a day-to-day. So let's get started. Okay, you're focusing on the people, and you see all of these faces on this screen, which is for a good reason. And I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out my previous boss and mentor, Tim Ito, who helped develop this faces model. But we're gonna do something called the faces exercise, the faces of accountability, and each one stands for something, and we'll go through that. So remember these faces. The first and foremost thing that we have to remember, the first letter in faces is focus. All right. How often do we go to our direct reports and on our team and say, all right, this week we're going to focus on revenue growth. And then a few hours later, we're going to focus on making sure our reporting is accurate. Then a couple hours later, we're going to focus on making sure that our brand and marketing is sound and that it resonates. Oh, by the way, make sure you get your timesheet into me on Friday, and make sure that you don't work over 40 hours, and then make sure that you respond to all your emails within 72 hours. How many of us have had that conversation with our direct reports? I do it too. And if I just sat back and reflected for a second, I probably sound like some sort of broken, dismantled record that is as scattered as anybody. And I can't imagine how much that contributes to my direct reports losing a little bit of focus, because I say that everything is a priority. I know, it's tough. I think it too, but one of the things to really think about here is, can we provide a level of prioritization for our direct reports? That way they can focus on certain things. And it's very simple, I know, but this is just one of the 5 parts of focus that's just something to consider. Can we give them something to focus on first, focus on second, focus on third? Once one is done, we reevaluate to see which one's on top. Focus, great picture. Apprenticeship, the second letter of faces. So a show of, I guess in the chat, just say yes or no. And I'm going to say yes, it's going to be yes for a lot of you, because many of you are effective managers and leaders. How many of us have taken time throughout our week to show employees how to do something? And it could be anything. How to run a report. It could be how to have a hard conversation. It could be just anything in general. Hopefully it's all of us. So we use this term apprenticeship because oftentimes I think we forget that we have to show people not exactly how to do things, but get them to a place that they're comfortable with how to do the job. We don't have to be doing it better than them. Actually, the goal is to have them do it better than us. But the term apprenticeship has a little bit of a deeper connotation, because apprenticeship means that they're literally shadowing you of how to do their job, but eventually one day shadowing you of how to do your job. You know, one of my mentors once said to me was, you're grooming your direct reports so that they can you do your job and that you move on, which is kind of the idea of apprenticeship. You know, creating this structure of learning and growth throughout this week as you're engaging with your direct reports. It's like, hey, here's how you do this and how you do this well. And then I'm going to wean myself away from showing you how to do this so that you feel comfortable, you feel empowered to do it. And then let me start showing you a little bit more about what I do so that I can also grow and move forward. Can you imagine creating a culture like that and having a conversation with your direct, just having that very conversation with your direct reports? Super impactful and super easy. It's, you know, I think the toughest part about the apprenticeship piece is like being able to let go of the things that you feel like you could do better. I promise you that is a detriment to the long term of being an effective manager. The challenge. Third letter of FACES. We went from focus, apprenticeship, now we're at the challenge. Everything is a challenge, especially now. It's super challenging for all of us with learning new technology, learning new methods. It's a challenging time. And oftentimes we provide our direct reports with challenges, with opportunities, with you know, organizational challenges that you and your direct reports have to solve. We need to grow revenue. We need a new product. We need to resonate better with our audience. We need a new strategy. These are really big challenges that I'm sure some of us have uttered at one point or another as a leader. And I think one of the fallacies that we fall into, or one of the fatal flaws that we have when we do this, is we just give them the challenge. We say, take the mountain by this date. Let me know if you need anything. And then let's move forward. You know, we're so hung up on the challenge that we forget to serve as a mentor to our direct reports to give them what we call the achievable challenge of the bigger challenge. How many of you are familiar with this game? I'm sure some of you. I believe this was Mario on N64. This was a little bit of a popular game on Nintendo 64. And I'm using this as an analogy, not Mario specifically, but just the idea of games and why many of us are so hooked on games. And there's a great parallel between this and the concept of achievable challenges, particularly for leaders and managers. And here it is. As you can see here, he's at a certain level. He probably needs to collect X amount of points, get from one place to another. And once he gets to that place, he gets a gold star. And then he wins, he finishes that level, or we finish that level, and then we move on to the next one. The ultimate goal of playing this game, or other games, similar to Mario and 64 here, is that we know that there is an end in sight, but between starting the game and ending and finishing the game and completing the game, there are levels that we have to complete that likely get harder as we get there. And we know that. So we know that, you know, for anyone playing a video game, I know that if I went into a video game, I could probably complete 2 levels in a day, 4 in a week, 8 in a month. I could probably finish a game in, you know, whatever game it is in 6 weeks or something like that. The point of this is not to get you all to buy a Nintendo product right now. I promise you. This is not a plug for Nintendo. I've got no stock in Nintendo, or to get you to buy any gaming system. The point of this is to hammer home the concept of this achievable challenge. When we tell our direct reports to take the mountain, scale the mountain, grow the business, drive revenue, create a new marketing plan, are we giving them enough information so that they understand the milestones and the achievable challenges? Or are we giving them so much that they get paralyzed and they start somewhere that's probably not the best place to start? Are we giving them that kind of guidance? Do we help them think through, all right, we got to grow revenue by $1 million. Do we tell them how they can grow revenue by $1,000? Maybe we start there. I know it's a million to 1,000, a little bit of far reach, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, how do we tell them what that first milestone looks like? And do we give them direction towards the first milestone so that it feels achievable? Once you hit second, third, fourth milestone, before you know it, you're halfway. And so I know this seems, high level, super strategic, but it's a shift, the mind shift in the conversation. It's like, can we get to that achievable challenge? Okay. The E in FACES is education. And I've got a ratio here. It's a 6-to-1. Education for management and leadership, one of the best kind of scenarios I heard that I'm trying to implement in my own management is when I educate my direct reports on something, I want to give them not only something that they can use for their job, but also something that they can use for life in general. And my mentor and previous boss, Tim Ito, called this social currency. Social currency is a piece of kind of information or education that you can use not only to apply in your life, but also to share with other people. So for example, if Sagan taught me something, but I'm like, wow, I could use that today to better myself. But I'm so excited about what I learned that I want to share with everyone else. This piece of education is called social currency. And here's a 6-to-1, and here's why I mentioned this. 6-to-1 is the ratio of positive interactions to negative interactions that's suggested that you have when you're having a hard conversation. So, one of my dear friends who I haven't spoken with in a while is a counselor, and she's on this webinar, so oftentimes I'm sure there are hard conversations. But according to researchers all over the world, they say that sandwich method, while effective, isn't as effective as having 6 positive interactions to 1. So for example, if I approach my direct report and had really, really hard feedback to share, and I perhaps I didn't do a good job of providing timely feedback, the chances of us recovering from this conversation in a positive manner is much more optimal if I have 6 positive interactions with that 1 negative interaction within that period of time. That's my social currency that I want to share with you all today. So here's a little bit more of the research. You can find it on HBR, harvardbusinessreview.org. Top performing teams give each other more than 5 positive comments for every criticism. And you can kind of see that ratio for every 1 negative conversation or criticism, 5 positive, the highest level of performance. And it's not a shocker, but it's interesting to put a number, a quantity around this. For every hard conversation, criticism, try to have, 5 to 6 positive conversations or criticism, 6 positive pieces of feedback in your back pocket. Not that hard. Interestingly enough, for all of us who are in relationships, this also works for marriages, girlfriends, boyfriends, any relationship. So for your spouse, if there's a hard conversation coming, you want to be able to, move on from it effectively. 6-to-1. Okay, concept of safety. The last letter in FACES. It's a very kumbaya moment here you're seeing. I mentioned earlier to you guys that I have some of the best direct reports today at my job, and I think I'm an effective manager because they're effective direct reports. And we have this culture, and you can always improve certain things. We have this culture where they can tell me, hey, Ryan, you are, you're out of it. You haven't given any guidance. I'm really worried about this thing. Like, it's a sign to me that I need to step up or that I'm doing something wrong. It's a sign to me for those, when I have those conversations happen, that I need to step back and reflect and understand this conversation and not only address whatever that concern is in that situation, but, is there a bigger concern of how I am not doing, having effective apprenticeships or not giving focus or, not providing enough education. Or is the challenge not achievable and I'm not providing achievable, and now, am I not providing enough milestones to show that it's achievable? So one of the things that I do as a manager, if these conversations are happening frequently and I'm realizing that there's a bad habit on my side, I think to myself, am I practicing faces? And so you see these are all interchanged. So the ability for myself to have a conversation with my manager, my direct reports have a conversation with me is this concept of psychological safety. Are we creating a culture within our own teams, within our organizations where people can give you the feedback to say, I'm struggling, I need more help here, I would really love for you to do X. This is easier said than done, but just kind of reflect to yourself for a second. Do I have that culture where there's enough trust there between my direct reports and I to where they can say to me, hey, I need you to step up your game as my manager. Not so much in those words, but the concept of psychological safety is just that, is providing that environment for your direct reports to have an honest conversation with you about the work, the connection, anything related to any of this. Just food for thought. So I'm covering a lot. And these last couple of minutes, I just wanted to share a couple of tactics around communication and connection, kind of the second part to all of this. It's a very random slide, I realize. But before the pandemic, many of us probably attended a lot of networking events, a lot of training opportunities, a lot of conferences in person. And you often would have this conversation, of people you just met for the first time. Hey, what do you do? What are you all about? And oftentimes I would answer, well, I'm Ryan. I'm originally from Michigan. I moved to DC in 2009 with my now wife. And, I was in consulting and then I worked in healthcare. And now I work for the Association for Talent Development, where I talk about leadership and do research and so forth. What do you do? There's a very linear projection of these conversations. Now, I was thinking to tell you there's a whole lot more to me than what I just told you in that second. And my point of this is you can't take some of your conversations at face value as a manager. You ask your direct report, how are you? Good, I'm fine. All right, let's move on with our day. I'm not saying you need to cry. I'm not saying you need to ask more questions. Are you really okay? Really? I'm just saying to be a little bit more mindful about some of the conversations and thinking that you know everything about that direct report. Life isn't really this linear, right? It has its ups and its downs. If you really ask me my life story, I was born in Belgium. I'm Filipino. I grew up in Detroit, and I went to a school where I was one of the few Filipino people, and there was a really big culture shock. I didn't speak English until I was 6 years old, and that was tough for me. But then eventually I found an environment that I really thrived in, and thankfully there was a big Filipino community in Michigan that I was able to grow, learn, and be a part of a community. Just as an aside, I remember as a kid when I moved from Germany to Michigan, my dad was looking at a map or globe in our living room, and he spun it. And I just think about this scene from Coming to America when Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall were looking for a bride, and they landed on Queens. And I feel like that's what my dad was doing as he was looking at the map for us to move to Michigan. So I often refer back to this. When I'm really comfortable with you, I tell them the story of I moved to the States because my dad spun a globe like Prince Hakeem in Coming to America. And here I am. So there's a few things here, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to cover today, but I really want to mention this just for a quick second. The ability to develop trust between people, whether it's direct reports or colleagues, is really important. And this concept of the Johari window, I'll kind of mention to you here in a little bit, is a great guideline for being able to build trust and transparency within folks. You see this grid, it seems really simple. It was developed by these two psychologists, I think in the 60s, Joe Luft and, oh gosh, I'm forgetting their names. Here we go. Joe Luft and Harry Ingham. It's called the Johari window. And basically what they said is that you fall into 4 quadrants. And oftentimes there are things that are known to the public, known to you, known to me. There are things that I'm hiding that are known to me, not known to you. There are things that the public knows about you, but you don't know about yourself. You're in the blind. And then there are things you don't know about yourself that other people don't know about yourself. And the goal is to get as much information into this public box between someone you trust, and that's the foundation for being able to build trust and transparency with people. So when you have a conversation with a direct report or someone close to you, just think about how much information is in the public versus the blind versus the hidden, which is just to you, versus the unknown. I'm not saying share your deepest, darkest secrets. What I'm saying is that you build the most trust when there is more in the public between you and someone you really want to build that trust with. So Sagren and Bola, in the interest of time, I'll kind of turn it back to you guys here for a second to open up any questions to our audience.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you so much. I was almost engrossed.
Yeah.
And now I'll just make a quick recap because I was busy jotting. And thank you for bringing up the ASAP program again. And that was a particular class that is so impactful, talking about those 5 qualities needed for a manager or a leader to be effective: accountability, communication, collaboration, engagement, listening and assessing. Actually, listening and assessing has to do a lot to do with emotional intelligence. I should quickly put in that. And then for the phases, you spoke about being focused, you spoke about apprenticeship, you spoke about challenge, and most especially achievable challenges. You spoke about education and the 6-to-1 ratio. Okay, education for job and for life. And of course, you mentioned the issue of social currency. Thank you so much. And then you wrap it up with safety. Concerning the Johari window, of course, there is always the emphasis that we should build, we should improve in the on the public arena, the one that is both known to us and known to other people. Ryan, thank you so much. You've really dealt with the subject matter of today. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have questions, please, how can we correct the anomaly that every challenge the company faces, the first reaction is to lay off staff? Are you there, Ryan? Yeah, okay.
Oh,
sometimes,
yeah, that is,
yes. Yeah.
And
that, hold on a moment. I think, okay, let me just mention the name. This is coming from
interestingly enough, I bet all of us are having this conversation more now than we ever have. And it's a scary time. And certainly I've had it. I know my colleagues have had it. And the best advice I've gotten, and I can probably give for this, is to be as transparent as possible with the the concerns. And, you know, I think we're all at a point where if you're not concerned about work now, you know, then you're really kind of in the blind. The economies all over the globe are in flux, particularly here in the United States, and everyone's kind of wondering, well, what do we do? Nothing is pandemic proof. What I would say is, as a manager, is to have a conversation with your direct report around how can we make ourselves the most invaluable to our organization? How can we help affect that bottom line of driving revenue? How can we make sure that you are of value to this organization and that, you know, we're able to move forward? That's essentially, for now, until this thing all gets better, it's kind of the best we can do. And Segun, my friend, I apologize. I know there are questions. I'm happy to address them kind of in a blog perhaps, or email, or another session. I have to jump onto another session here shortly, but I'm truly honored by being here today.
Now, I want to give you an apology because you told us this when we were bringing you in, that you have another meeting slated. And
no
believe me, yes. So we want to say thank you for coming. And the way I think we should do it actually is that some of these questions will send back to you, and you and they will reach out to those putting in the question. Maybe you want to take one more just before you go. There is this one that says that, because the first question actually, the questioner to say actually suggested that, you know, there could be safer and more economic packaging of products. And sincerely, you have mentioned it, that why don't we call the team together to ask the team what can we do to assist the organization in the product, whether you are rendering services, how best can we do to push profitability so that it's not all the time we are coming down on employees. Just take this one before you go. There seems to be a large gap in apprenticeship and stroke mentorship. When a manager is not opening up for his subordinates to learn from him, what is the way forward? You can answer that, and then we'll ask you to take a lead. What is the way forward? A manager who is
this, you know, in my experience, this question is a mind shift of a little bit of control. You know, I think that there are many opportunities for mentorship for you to teach your direct report of what you're doing. And oftentimes there is a sense of uncomfortability because sometimes you feel like you can do it better or this person might do it wrong. And so, you know, what I think the interesting thing is here, similar to achievable challenges for the apprenticeship and mentorships with your direct reports, start giving a little at a time. Instead of trying to say, here, try to do this whole job. Here, take on this part, see how they do, take on this part. You're going to have to be patient. Apprenticeship and mentorship doesn't happen overnight, right? But with that patience, even achievable challenges for your part, an achievable challenge for you is to start giving up things slowly, surely, and then eventually it becomes a whole mentorship and an apprenticeship. So I would say taking the time and kind of being able to do that, and that makes it a little bit easier for you.
Okay. Are you sure you want to leave now, or you want to give us this particular? I would have loved you to help with this one question. How do you relate with a team lead that is almost impossible to have an honest conversation with about many things?
Oh man, Omolara, if you know the answer to that, you tell me what it is. Here is the short of it, in my opinion. It's a harder conversation when a lot of time passes and you're now coming out of the woodwork, having a hard conversation when you should have had the smaller conversations between now and then. What I mean is, if you're trying to give someone feedback who's been doing not well for 2 months, you probably should have given them had the conversation with them in 2 weeks or a month or a week. So, you know, oftentimes, and this could probably be an hour, but the best way to approach this that I've seen is to say, hey, in my perspective is that the work hasn't been done, and you don't want to make assumptions. You want to be very factual about whether the work was completed or not, right? It has to be tied back to something very factual and not an opinion. And I think some of our, people that have conversations, teachers and counselors, they can teach us a lot about how to have these hard conversations, but it has to be to some extent factual and not an accusation of like a lack of skill or will. In that case, it becomes a very detrimental conversation. That, and it should be timely.
Okay. Okay. I can hear you loud and clear. It should be timely.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, actually we've been here for just about an hour. And Ryan, we want to say thank you for joining us. We will let you go. I just want to say this to everyone. Thank you so much. And I want you to catch up with your next meeting. There will still be opportunity for us to come together. And like I was telling you that actually we were planning that we will meet at the ATD 2020, but now, so maybe we should look up, because actually we were just arranging that myself and my wife this time around, it's our 30th wedding anniversary. We thought we could actually come around. And but don't worry, we'll probably next year. We'll see you. Thank you so much. We'll still talk and we'll bring you back.
Sir. My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, let's appreciate Rian. Let's appreciate Rian. Thank you very much. So okay, we are still here. We are still here, ladies and gentlemen. We can take some of this. I think the hiring window should be should be simulated for both managers and subordinates, as it helps to open everyone to learn. Yes, I want to believe that's a comment from Chibuzo. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. If we can still keep this on for the next 10 minutes. We have said that we will be here for 1 hour 20 minutes. So if there's any chat, I would just want to say thank you to everybody. Bishop, because to call Deomi Alabi Viking now, it may not be appropriate. I want to say thank you, and our regards to Madam. I also have seen Professor Lawanson here. I don't know how many people, some people came in. Fantastic gentlemen, this Adekunle Shambore, Bimbola Adebakin, everybody is hooked on to this. We want to say thank you so much. I won't be able to mention everybody. Lady Beatrice Oji, FCIPM. Madam, we want to say thank you for joining us. Captain John Adefuye retired. You are here. Thank you so much. Professor Kemela Hansen, once again, you are a partner and a partner indeed. Oluwatosin Ogude, barrister, and his wife. That's the wife to thank you very much, madam. Thank you. And to Minun Lawanson, that is Angela Salary Day. Vera Kanabe, I hope you are still hooked on. Thank you for joining. Vera Kanabe is Coco's elder sister. Thank you very much. Tinubu, this is Tinu Bankole, I suspect, because when I saw Tinubu, I thought that Bola Ahmed Tinubu is also connected. But then, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say, you're me from New York. Please, I appreciate each and every one of you. Rose Swan, Rachel, everyone, we appreciate all of you. We are about Jubril earlier on. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for this moment. We are not taking it for granted that you are connected. So I'm sure Mrs. Tumini saying, are you speaking? Are you raising up your hand? Please. Thank you. If you want to say something, you can unmute yourself, ladies and gentlemen. In case I can't see the chat room, you can unmute yourself and say hello. You can also unmute your video. Let me keep quiet for now.
So I want to really appreciate this opportunity. This Chibuzo. It's been a learning experience for me, and I picked a lot of points that I feel would help me in my journey as a manager, or becoming a better manager, as it were.
Okay.
But for me, the biggest point that I'm taking out of this is in mentoring somebody, you need to put in bits by bits rather than pushing all the work together. Let them pick out small bits and begin to expand from there. I think for me, that's something that managers have to really look at the broader level. Instead of just saying that, oh, this person is not doing the work well, give him little bits and let him get better at those points, and then you begin to expand. So for me, that would be the biggest point I'll be taking out from this session. Thank you very much, sir. I'm very grateful.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That is apt. That is so apt. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, Vera, thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you. Yes, this year is our 30th anniversary. Thank you so much. Mentoring on the go. Okay. Do it small bites. Yes. Chibuzo, thanks so much. Thanks for that. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Now, and I just want to add to that that also when the bites are being given, I hope that people will, the mentee will catch up with it and move at a good speed. And I also want to appreciate Tunde Adebayo for joining us. I want to say thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us from your village. I hope so. Tunde Adebayo, FCIPL. Thank you, sir. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are still here. We will still welcome any comment. Any comment? Actually, the Excel program is the ACCEL program is the basis of the Yale Management Excellence Program. It's a well-researched program, and it runs for about a week at Yale, and the faculty is solid in case if anyone is interested. And it's a well-recognized and recommended program at the Yale School of Management. Because by so doing, you become what do you want, an alumnus of the Yale School of Management, and you get the regular thing you can get from Yale. Well, I'm trying to put that in for ATB. It's been a wonderful partner over the years. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for this. I wouldn't want to keep us here further. Yes, it's actually already 1 hour 20 minutes since we started this program. So I want to say bye to every one of us, and until we come your way again, until we see you and we meet again, thank you for supporting us, and surely we will extend our invitation to you next time. Thank you. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your time so much.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
You're welcome. Bye. Well, over to you.